All right, guys, what's up? I'm Coach Mike again from Strong Together Fitness. I'm coming to you from Hackettstown, New Jersey, and today we have a pretty awesome story we want to share with you. This one is coming from all the way out in Michigan. So before we hop into that story, I want to introduce Cyril, who is the owner of Strong Together Chelsea, and I want Cyril to introduce himself. Many of you, well, really none of you have met him unless you're watching this from Michigan. So Cyril, welcome, and why don't you give us some background on yourself and where you came from and how you got into the Strong Together family, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be on, and thanks for having us. Basically, we're going into our 6th year as a fitness business, and in 2014, I sold my financial services company to start our fitness business. We started as a CrossFit box, Country Spirit CrossFit, and Trisha, one of the founders of Strong Together, was one of my first interns in my financial services business. So I knew Trisha, and she became my mentor in the fitness business. So we just kept in touch, and I'd ask her all kinds of questions because I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I loved it, and I wanted to build a community of fitness because that's what I love doing. And when we were looking for, we busted out of our original facility, which was 1,300 square feet in no time, and we were looking for a bigger facility, and Trisha was from our town, so she knew the area. And I told her we were looking at the old Blockbuster space in town, which was a much bigger space, 4,500 square feet. But we really had to hit it out of the park in terms of the business to justify it. And I was picking her brain, and she was really good at helping us go through that process. And I saw what success she and Ben were having with all the other Strong Togethers. And the more we spoke, the more it just made sense to fold into the family and to become a Strong Together affiliate, which we're going on, we're over a year and a half now, and it's been nothing but awesome, and it's really given me a chance to work on the business as opposed to just in the business, and I'm still able to work out and work on my own fitness and then have this whole infrastructure to help grow the business. So that's our story, and it's been awesome.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Thank you. Well, welcome. I mean, it's been over a year, but welcome, for those who don't know you. I'm sure at some point they'll run into you. We want to try to get some stuff going on here, like, you guys coming out here, us coming out there, meeting halfway, competition, stuff like that. Many people in Strong Together might already know some of your members from just posting in Beyond the Whiteboard. So it's pretty cool that we get to compare scores and and times and stuff like that against some of your members. So for our guys, if you see some names out there that you don't really know, many of them may be from out there in Chelsea. Is that where you're located, Chelsea?
Yeah, we are. We're in Chelsea. We're about an hour west of downtown Detroit, basically, and 20 minutes west of Ann Arbor, where the University of Michigan is located. Even though Sarah's wearing an OSU shirt, but that's okay. It's all good. My parents live in Columbus, so that's fine.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, so you just mentioned Sarah. Sarah is our guest today, the star of the show. So Sarah, welcome. And I've never gotten a chance to meet you, obviously, but I'm very eager to hear more about your story. So why don't we just hop right in? Why don't you give us kind of a background of where you started? I guess quick idea of how long you've been there with Cyril, and then and then we'll go from there.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I am excited to be here and share my story. I started here with Cyril in November. And to kind of back that up a little bit, last July, I went in to see my doctor and had expressed a concern to want to lose weight and be healthier and be more fit. And she told me the only way I could do that was to have a gastric sleeve done. And so I started the process to have that surgery. It's a 6-month check-in with the doctor every month and making nutrition changes. And so I kind of started there. I had previously been an athlete and a runner most of my life. And I saw Strong Together here. I live in Chelsea. And so I had seen where they had this 6 weeks challenge, and that's what brought me in the door. And that's kind of how I started my whole journey here.
Gotcha. Awesome. So November. So we've been about November, December, and then we're in the 7th month. So it's been about 9 months or so.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So you started with a 6-week challenge. That's okay. Technical difficulties. We got a little phone ring in the background there. So as we, why don't we rewind? So you said you were like a runner, and I'm interested. What other kind of things did you do? Where do you kind of come from? What's your background a little bit in terms of whether it's fitness or sport or really anything?
I grew up in a hockey family, so I grew up in the ice arena. I grew up on the ice. I started skating before I can remember. And so I competed in skating up until middle school, and then I played volleyball, basketball. I was always active leading up to that, always sports typically.
Gotcha. Awesome. Cool. And then did you go to Ohio State, or what was life after high school there for you?
No, after high school, I grew up in Ohio, which is why I'm an Ohio State fan. After I got married, I ended up pregnant with my first son. And then my husband's job brought us to Michigan, which is how we ended up here. Most of my health went out the window when I had my children. I had complications of my pregnancy. We actually lost one of our sons. And so that's kind of where how I ended up where I was. And I wanted to get back to who I was prior to that.
Gotcha. Okay. So how many kids do you have?
Well, I have a 13-year-old and I have an 8-year-old, and then our middle son passed away at birth.
Okay. So 13 years ago, you had your first, and about 8 years ago. So it's been about 8 years since your most recent. And okay. So you said that, after kids, that's when things kind of, slowed down for you. Kind of, explain that a little bit. What kind of, you just slowed down, got busy, took on the mom role. Like what exactly went on there?
I would just say life happened. We moved 2 times, and just being mom and getting my kids where they needed to go, making sure home life was good, right? And my health became my lowest priority. And so I just didn't worry about it, and I was just trying to care for my kids and get them through that phase. After my youngest was born, he had a lot of medical problems, and so he had 5 surgeries in 5 months. So getting his health under control and him set up for success is really when my health became less of a priority, because my concern was getting him healthy.
Gotcha. How long before he was, and is he healthy? Like how long before, after those 5 months, was he kind of, back to quote unquote normal, or does he still have complications, or?
He still has complications. He has what's called a lymphatic malformation in his neck, and he has a team of doctors that he actually sees at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. But he is functioning like a normal child. He plays soccer now, and he goes to school, and so I'm super grateful for his health. And while it will always be something he'll have to be aware of and deal with, for the most part, if you were to meet him, he would look like any normal 8-year-old who's very active.
Gotcha. But I can imagine, it's been 8 years of many doctor's visits and, in and out. And so I can understand where, that's where you said the health of your children was your main priority, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So basically, yeah, it sounds like you shifted most of your focus to the kids, and so what, I guess, what was your journey through there in terms of, did you just your health started deteriorating? Did you start gaining weight? Did you have any, kind of illnesses, or like, how do you, what was your health like during that time and up until November when you walked in to see Cyril?
It was mostly the weight gain. I didn't have a lot of other health issues. I have a low thyroid, but it's unrelated to my health or to my weight. But my family history, I have a lot of heart disease, and my brother had a clogged carotid artery, which made me realize the importance of my health was just as important as my kids. And so that really was kind of a transition and understanding that my health needs to be a priority so that I can be around to care for my family the way I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you went to go see a doctor regarding the gastric surgery. Was that was 6 months or so before you saw Cyril, or how long before you saw Cyril?
It would have been from August to November. So August, September, October, it would have been 3 months.
Gotcha. Okay. So you were basically in the middle of that process, and then what changed?
I wanted to make sure that I had tried absolutely everything I could to lose the weight on my own before I had the surgery, to know that it truly was my last option to have a healthier life. And like I said, I'd always been an athlete, and driving by and seeing it, and I have had friends who do CrossFit, and I watch their Facebook stories, and it just encouraged me to come in and try. And I liked that it included the nutrition, because I know how important having my nutrition under control is to my overall health and my weight loss. It's not just about being in the gym and doing hard workouts, that if I didn't get my nutrition under control, then I wasn't going to have the success that I wanted.
Gotcha. So you said you wanted to make sure you tried, about everything. Was there anything else that you did try before going in and, that consultation for the gastric and then, meeting Cyril?
I had probably in my life tried as many fad diets as there probably are out there. And I had been a runner for a long time. The running just wasn't enough. I'm learning for my body type. I'm just not built that way. And I enjoy lifting weight. I enjoy being strong. And so that's why I decided to come in here.
Gotcha. So what kind of stuff did you try? I know you said basically every fad diet out there, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. They probably have, cabinets full of shaker bottles from different nutrition companies that they've tried. So what kind of stuff did you try before coming in to meet with Cyril?
I had tried the Atkins, cutting things out, and of course once you put that back in, I had tried, trying to think of some of the big ones. Like at one point a previous doctor had put me on a weight loss pill, which I of course lost weight, but then gained all of that back because none of the habits or lifestyle changes were part of it. And that was probably the biggest one for me, was when the doctor had prescribed it and I gained weight back, realizing the importance of making the lifestyle change. I would say that that's probably the biggest one, is when the doctor had prescribed a weight loss medication previously.
Gotcha. And during this time, were you basically just like running, or did you try any other type of exercise programs or anything?
I would run and bike mostly. So mostly just cardio.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's definitely, I would say, not uncommon. This is, very typical of the people that I've sat down with and met with here is, they think, when they want to lose weight or get in shape, it's basically, let me find a diet program and then let me spend my life on the treadmill or the elliptical, and unfortunately we know the cycle of how that works. It many times moves us in the opposite direction of where we want to go. You develop less muscle, right? And then your nutrition may change and you might see a little bit of a difference. And then again, like you said, once you start introducing something else back in that you weren't doing, where you go back to trying to eat, normal, not the way that you were necessarily, but, not having shakes and bars all the time, then things start to basically revert back to the way that they were. Okay, so awesome. So you came in, you met with Cyril, you sat down in front of him, and I got to imagine that was a pretty scary experience knowing Cyril. Could you talk a little bit about that, what your first day was like, or what, your first meeting was like?
The first meeting was good. Thankfully, I grew up in a house full of hockey players, so Cyril wasn't as intimidating as he might be for other people. I'm used to being in a house full of males, and so it was easy for me to talk to him. And I was honest with him and told him much of what I shared here, my past and my journey and what I was looking for. And actually, when I met with him, I had said that when I wanted to do the 6 weeks, and at that time I was still planning on having surgery and wanted to kind of have a basis to fall back onto what I thought was going to be after surgery, so that I could maintain whatever weight loss I had achieved. I knew that something had to be in place for me to be successful afterwards. And so my initial goal was just to get a foundation for me to return to post-surgery. So a lot of our conversation revolved around that.
Okay, and I would imagine that conversation shifted at some point. So you came in, you started a 6 week, what basically happened? How was the gym? How was the experience? And when did you start to see changes in your body or whatever? And how did your mindset start to kind of change? Because obviously spoiler alert, you haven't had the surgery, right?
Correct. Yes.
So we're 9 months later. So yeah, talk a little bit about that first couple weeks, kind of what it was like walking in and when things started to change a little bit.
So the first 6 weeks, I think something important for some people to realize is I actually didn't lose a lot of weight in that first 6 weeks. But what I did gain is learning the moves and creating the community that Cyril has here in this box. And I know it's not just him, it's the other members, but they were very welcoming and encouraging. And even when I felt stupid or I fumbled, they were always there to encourage me and take the time to teach me the right way to do moves. They never made me feel less than the person that I am. And so that is what really encouraged me to come back. Now, I know I said I didn't lose a lot of weight in that 6 weeks, but what I did gain was probably a lot of mental strength, and I noticed differences in my body. So it wasn't what the scale said, it was everything else. I could do moves easier. I realized I could really throw some weight around. Some of my PRs were getting heavy weights, and I was really proud of that. So that was part of the mindset. And like when I would leave, they'd ask me when I was coming back and say hi to me. And of course, I don't know if anybody else out there realizes we have the best gym dog ever in Khaleesi, and she would always come and greet us when we come in. All of that plays into feeling welcomed and wanting to come back and do better and be better. It was more the changes I saw in my body and the mental changes in that first 6 weeks that encouraged me to keep going. And I ended up not having surgery because in that 6 month period, I actually disqualified myself. I ended up losing enough weight that I can't even have the surgery now if I had wanted to.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to go back and touch on a couple of things that you said there. So I think for a lot of people, it is important to realize that 6 week challenge, 6 week period, whatever you want to call it, isn't always, the weight isn't always the goal. What you don't realize is that sometimes you just, even if say you lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks, if you didn't experience some of those mental triumphs and those, that habit forming that you had, just feeling what it's like to come in 3 days, feeling what it's like to have someone encourage you to be able to work hard for something and get a result, like those are some of the things that people don't realize, that even if you come in and you lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks, if you didn't develop any of those things, there's a good chance you're going to go right back to doing what you were doing. Right. So, I think that's awesome that you know, regardless of what the scale said, you know, I honestly don't even care what the numbers said in 6 weeks, that the fact that you made those habits, you ingrained some of those habits, you learned some of that mental strength. That's probably what kept you going the next 6 months. You know, I would guess. So you disqualified yourself for the surgery, and you don't mean that you like electively took yourself out of it. They basically told you you've lost too much weight. You're no longer a candidate. So how does that process work? You know, I'm a little interested in that. You know, quick couple seconds here. Like they basically say you have to be this much over what your recommended weight is. You know, how does that work?
So your BMI has to be above 40 without a medical condition like diabetes or heart disease or some other complication of being overweight. Then it's a BMI of 35. And as I was in the process of getting insurance to approve this procedure, my BMI dropped below 40. And towards the end, after the 6 weeks and stuff, that was my goal. Like my goal was to continue kind of parallel paths, like continue pursuing surgery, but my goal was to lose enough weight that I wouldn't be able to have surgery. So insurance didn't approve it because my weight dropped too low.
Yeah. Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I would assume, right? That's a good thing. So, I mean, so your goal all along was basically, it sounded like in the beginning you wanted to have the surgery, but you just wanted to get yourself to like, you know, kind of experience some stuff, have something to fall back on after the surgery was over. And then when did your mindset change? Like to like, all right, screw this. I don't want the surgery. I want to lose X amount of weight or lose X amount of body fat, BMI.
Honestly, it's probably, we did the 12 days of thankfulness. We had adapted it from the 12 days of Christmas, and it was a really intense and hard workout. And just being able to finish that, whether I modified every move or I was the last one done, but I really gained a lot of mental strength in realizing my capabilities. And that's for me probably when the shift started, was I realized I could do hard things, and being able to do those things and being proud of myself and wanting to share that with other people. And the support I had from the people in that class, because it was a really large class. I don't know how many we ended up having, but there was a ton of people there. And at no point, it didn't matter which part of the workout you were in, everybody was high-fiving and saying good job and really encouraging. We all stood around for the last person to finish and finished it out with them, and just realizing that I could do it, that I was capable, that I was strong. And that's kind of how I approach workouts now. Like if I come in and I see one, and I'm sure Cyril can tell you, like, well, I'll sit over here and putting my shoes on, and people will be like, oh my gosh, this workout's going to be so hard. There's 100 burpee bar overs or whatever, or it's 15 minutes or whatever. And I just say, it's just 15 minutes. For 15 minutes, I can do something hard that I will be proud of for the rest of the day. And that carries me through the rest of the day. And that allows me to make good food decisions. It allows me to make calmer decisions when my children make me mad. Like it trickles into every other area of my life. Just understanding that for this 15 minutes, it may really suck, but I can do it. And just having that mental strength and that belief in myself is what carries me through. And it carries me in every other area of my life. It's not just here.
And then you did the inner box battle.
I did do the inner box battle, and that was really awesome. And I think that's really when the athlete in me came out, because I became super competitive. And I'm learning to channel that with myself, just being competitive with myself, always doing better. Like today we did a power clean and jerk, and last time I did it, I did 115 pounds, and Coach Larry came over and he's like, so are you going to beat that today? And I was like, oh, well, now I have to beat it today. And I did, and I put up more weight, and next time I'll be encouraged to do it again and again. And those are the things that I'm proud of. I'm proud of gaining muscle, and I can see it. People are in my life are starting to see it, and while it's nice for them to, it's more important that I do it, that when it comes from within, I'm doing it for myself for probably the first time in a really long time.
What'd you do after the clean and jerks?
I ran a mile with a 20-pound weight vest. I chose to put the weight vest on to remind myself of the weight I used to carry. Some days, especially with summer, it's hard to want to get up in the morning and come to the gym, or to choose the vegetables over an ice cream at the end of the day or at a party. But putting that weight vest on reminded me how hard I've come and how far, and reminding myself I don't want to go back there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. I love hearing about, the workouts and how people do and kind of what got them. Ben says it all the time. Like, for every one of our athletes, there's a moment that basically changes their mindset. Like, we've talked about that for a long time. There's always that one moment that's like, all right, that's the workout I remember that basically got me hooked. That's really cool to hear your experience on that. You mentioned that you put a 20-pound weight vest on to remind you what you used to carry. Have you carried more than that 20-pound weight vest? Where are you in that journey?
Right now, depending on the day, I'm anywhere between 35 and 40 pounds is what I've lost since I started. And
that's in 9 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's awesome. And so basically, you're going to give it 3 more months, right? A year is what you signed up for, and then you're just going to stop, right? You're not going to do CrossFit.
No, I don't think I could stop if I wanted to at this point.
How much further do you want to go? All kidding aside, how much more do you feel like you want to lose, or is weight really the primary focus, or maybe not primary, because it sounds like it was never really the primary, but like how much? What are your goals now, I guess, is the question.
My goals have really shifted away from my weight, and understanding that weight, that's just a number and that it doesn't define me. Like, if I told you what my weight would, it wouldn't tell you how much muscle I have on my legs or how strong I am, or that I remind my 13-year-old I can pick him up and throw him when he has an attitude adjustment. None of those things are measured in my weight. But so mine are like to increase moves. I'm really working hard to do a pull-up on my own because I've never really had upper body strength. So that's a good goal of mine. And double unders and handstand push-ups. Those are my 3 that I'm working really hard for. I can do handstands and I can do handstand holds. So my goals have really just shifted to moves and lifting more weight and doing them better, getting my mechanics better. Cyril can tell you I ask a lot of questions. More detailed questions now, just really understanding more of what I'm doing and be able to do it better.
And she wants to get her L1 now.
Yes. Eventually I'd like to get my L1, and just because I think I understand people walking through the door, because I haven't always been in the shape I am now.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you sound a lot like some of our members who are now owners. So Frank Spina, he's an owner over at Roxbury, has a pretty similar story to yours. Dom, he's an owner in Pennsylvania, and again, like I coached both of those guys from when they came in to when they got bit by the bug, to when they started asking a lot of questions, to when they said, I'm going to go get my L1 and start coaching other people. And so I already can see the path that you're headed down here. It's pretty cool to see that. But awesome. I think we basically shared your story from beginning to end. It's not over yet, that's for sure, but it's very, very cool to hear how it started with, some kind of like almost last resort options, and then it changed to let me actually, work my ass off and see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of those other things you weren't needed, and now you're just chugging right along, almost 40 pounds in 9 months. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a huge math guy, but roughly 5 pounds a month, 4 to 5 pounds a month or so would get you close to that 40. So that's awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys would like to share? I think we basically covered it all, and we're right about at our time cap here. But anything else you're looking forward to coming up, or?
Probably just doing more competitions. We were just talking about it with a couple of the coaches, watching it and learning it. But I think you did a good job, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has been great, and great job. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Mike. And
absolutely,
we'll look forward to hearing the finished product.
Absolutely. All right, guys, it was great to meet with you, and we look forward to hearing some more success stories come out of Chelsea over there, Cyril.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care, guys.
Take care.